So let's get going. Good evening, everyone. This is the Landmarks Committee of Manhattan Community Board 5. My name is Leila Logiziko. I'm the chair. Tonight, we have one application on the agenda. The format of the meeting is as usual, but I will spell it out for those who are not familiar with our meeting format. The applicant will be given the opportunity to give a full and uninterrupted presentation. Following this presentation, members of the committee will have an opportunity to ask questions. Then I will open up the floor to members of the public. They will have an opportunity to ask questions and make comments. Once this comment and question period concludes, the applicant will be given an opportunity to respond to those questions and comments. Then we will move to business session. During business session, only members of the committee are allowed to discuss the matter. We will make comments and then a motion will be made and this motion will be taken to a vote. This vote will become the position of this committee. The position of this committee will be presented to the full board of Committee Board 5, which meets on June 13th. Don't take my word for it and double check on our website, cb5.org. Nonetheless, at the full board meeting, the position of the committee will be presented to the full board, and the full board will take a vote on this position. The vote of the full board becomes the official position of Committee Board 5. This resolution and position will be forwarded to the Landmarks Preservation Commission, as well as relevant elected officials, including the council member. Now, members of the committee, as usual, as you know, if you have a conflict with an application, you must disclose it before you make a comment or you ask a question, and you have to vote being present but not entitled. The regular housekeeping, please keep your microphone on mute. Mike, I see that you're not muted. Please mute yourself. And I will turn it to the applicant tonight. So let me give you the introduction. We are reviewing an application for a town hall located at 123 West 43rd Street. And this is an application to replace exterior signage. And I can see that we have a team of applicants. You can take it away and share your screen. Tell us all about it. Ted, you're on
mute. Yes, I just had to unmute myself. Sorry. Hello, everyone. My name is Ted Lambert. I'm the executive director of the Town Hall, a historic 101-year-old performance venue on West 43rd Street. I hope you're all familiar with it. If you're not, the place was built by a group of suffragists who wanted to establish a meeting house where everyone was welcome. Women were not welcome at most of the private organizations in New York City. And they set out to build a meeting hall where anyone could attend to be informed on the issues of the day. Almost immediately, it became a performance venue because McKim, Mead & White, the architects of the building, renowned architects, built such an amazing hall with such great sight lines and such wonderful acoustics. It became a performance venue, I think a month after it opened. Someone asked if they could fit a piano through the door, so they altered the doors to do that. And since then, it's had an illustrious history. Many Black artists have made their debuts there when they were unwelcome on other stages like the Met or Carnegie Hall. And it's continued that tradition the entire time, from Paul Robeson and Marian Anderson to Langston Hughes, and Bob Dylan made his concert debut there. Didn't sell out, but had a fabulous New York Times review that launched his legendary career. I'm giving you some of this background so that you don't have to read the very texty pages in my presentation. Today we honor that tradition, and we present, last year we presented artists from over 18 nations and invited people from school-age children to members of senior centers to our stage. And we're also a rental hall and we make our living as a rental hall. We've made some very big improvements in the technology of the theater in the last few years, and took the opportunity of the pandemic to do that. Today, I'm speaking to you about the exterior signage on the building. It's both a restoration project and a new technology project, because the signage that appeared outside Town Hall for decades, which is no longer there, were large, six large poster boxes that were decorative, and today they are replaced by 13 very ugly aluminum boxes that look like they belong in a public school or perhaps a church. And the realities of today is that it's a digital world, and very few of the promoters that present concerts want to produce posters. The boxes themselves are very small. They don't make so much of an impact. And as you know, our neighborhood is filled with lots of signage that's loud and busy. And we feel in order to
I'm sorry
yeah.
to interrupt, but do you have any visuals?
Yes,
of
absolutely.
what you're
I'll
proposing?
share my PowerPoint right now. And where is my share screen button? Hold on one second.
You should be able to find it at the bottom of the screen.
Just giving Zoom the permission to share. For some reason, it didn't have it. I'm sorry, one moment. There we go. Oh, it says Zoom won't, oh, later. Sorry, that was about recording. So you should be able to
So
share now.
you should have the share screen button at the bottom of
Yep.
your screen.
Yep.
Green block box with an arrow.
Yep. There we go. Can everyone see now?
Yes, fantastic.
Okay, wonderful. I'll just get rid of some of the other garbage there. So as you can see from this exterior photo, there's these little boxes to the side of the columns outside, and those are the aluminum boxes that I spoke of. It takes a printed poster that have to be replaced, and they have very little impact. They're also very unoriginal to the building. And later on, you'll see photographs of what was there before. And what we are proposing to do is to restore the 6 boxes which laid between the columns that you see outside the building. And inside those boxes, rather than paper posters, we're putting digital screens mounted in a portrait style. They're not much bigger than the posters, but they have much bigger impact. They're not particularly bright screens. They're 1500
Ted,
nits.
move to page 3, please.
Yes.
Let people see what you're proposing.
Absolutely. Here you can see some historic pictures, and if you look in the lower left, you'll see what these boxes looked like laying between the columns outside. You can also see to the right of that the boxes that exist today in a different position, and on the extreme right you can see a detail of the boxes that were original. So the location of these boxes can be seen on this elevation. On the left, you see where these little boxes are located between the columns. And on the right, you can see the placement of the new digital screens in the, I hope that's big enough for everyone to see.
Is there any way that you can make it full screen?
Next
I think
page,
if you enter.
Next page is a little bigger.
Yeah, you'll see it a little bigger on the next page. Here we are.
Okay, thank you.
So there's the little boxes up top and the larger decorative boxes down below. I'll show you some detail of the design of the box, which is as close to the original as we can possibly make it. The content of these boxes will essentially be concert posters, but we're limited by the number of boxes of how many shows we can promote at once. Now, of course, when they're digital and they're controlled remotely, they can all display the same thing. They can change every 20 seconds. They can all be different. And we're able to promote shows months in advance in a rotation, whereas we're very limited to the number of boxes we have today. Want to give you an example of the content that sits in these poster boxes. Very different shows, comedy, Latin orchestra, folk music, modern musical. We have book events and many other types of presentations. I've included in my presentation detail of the technology that we're using. These are outdoor displays that are built to withstand extreme cold and heat, but they will be living inside these boxes, so they'll receive extra protection, not only from any vandalism, but from the elements. They are rated from -20 to 140 degrees in operating temperature. They are low, they have anti-glare covering, and we think that they'll be perfect for our usage. And it's these days a 32-inch horizontal diagonal screen is rather small, as many people will have that as the smallest home screen, and we're just turning it on its side to be a portrait display. There's plenty of precedence for signage like this, even in landmark theaters like our own. And I wanted to show you several examples. The New Amsterdam, these are, I don't believe the lower right one, the Hayes Theater, is landmark, but the New Amsterdam on 42nd Street, these are all within 2 blocks of Town Hall, is a landmark theater. And not only do they have a giant digital marquee, but beside and underneath it, there is a digital screen there. Below that is the Lyceum Theater, 1 block from us. And they erected a giant exterior sign. As you can see, I've given you 2 views of it. That's a giant video screen up above. And this is more and more in usage in the Times Square area for the Broadway theaters. To the right is, I think, the oldest operating theater in the entire theater district, the Hudson Theater. And they have installed very similar boxes to the ones I want. They're a little larger than the ones I'm doing, but they only have 2 and I have 6. So I think it's a fair trade. Below on the right is the Hayes Theater, which used to be called the Little Theater before the Helen Hayes Theater was demolished. And their entrance is flanked by 2 very similar, although again larger than what I'm proposing, digital boxes. And they are located next to Sardi's on 44th Street. The slide here just is that enlarged comparison between what we have and what we had. And as you can see, the other ones just fit with the building much better. And they add an element of design and serve a very distinct purpose for us at Town Hall to be able to promote our shows. I was asked to provide views of our block, and here we are on the left. You can see, and directly across the street from us is the Stephen Sondheim Theater. It's run by Roundabout, and they have exterior signage and boxes, which you can see on the right. And the next picture on the right is the view down our block, where one encounters the Blade Runner world of Times Square and all of its signage. And just ended my presentation with an interior view in case you want to see our beautiful, beautiful house, which we have maintained. If you were to look at a theater, an interior picture of the Town Hall from 1921, you would see everything but the speaker stacks that hang, the speaker arrays that hang which were designed by our board member, Nevin Steinberg, a Tony Award-winning sound designer. So now our amplified sound matches our wonderful natural acoustics. I'm just going to run through these slides one more time for you to give you another view at them. Oh, sorry. There's our posters. There's our proposed boxes. There's the elevation. This is a more detailed elevation and overhead view. And there are some historic pictures.
Great, thank you very much.
There's the words, and there we are. Thank you.
Maybe we can go back to the elevation.
Yes.
And I'm sure that it will be a useful visual for
Great.
the questions that members of the committee may have. Let's jump right in, members of the committee. If you have a question about this application, use the raise hand function. Who has a question? Let's see, we're going to start with Brad. Brad, go ahead with your first question.
Thank you, Leila. I have sort of two categories of question that I hope you can answer. So the first one is the screen within the box.
Mhm.
Can you give us a sense of the sort of approximate brightness of that screen?
The
If you can give us
screen,
a sense of comparison or some other thing, but just sort of a
typically
reference point.
outdoor displays are 2,000 nits. I'm afraid I don't know exactly what a nit, what that measurement is. It's not, it's most outdoor screens are 2,000. These are 1,500. They're not exceptionally bright. Their brightness is controllable, and approximately it has the ability to be 3 times larger than a home TV. Three times brighter, rather.
Okay, but relative to a home TV, is it 1,500 approximately that, or?
I believe it's 500. I'm going to do a little Googling while we continue the conversation to try and establish that for you.
Okay. Then moving on, the images in the boxes, you had mentioned that those are able to change. Is your
Yes, sir.
intention to have them change sort of on the 20-second interval that you suggested, or is it to change sort of with the programming?
They can, we do expect them to rotate through whatever is on sale at the time, and sometimes things are available months in advance, so we would like to include those. They can change every 20 seconds. When we get to a performance, many times a performer will like to see their own poster in every single box. It's all programmable through a small box called BrightSign, which allows us to program it remotely from up in the office. But yes, we would like to to create visual interest by changing every 20 seconds or so. That's a random timing thing that I just chose, but I know that they can.
And then my other question is how the physical box themselves are attached to the building. Can you explain a little bit more about how, one, the boxes themselves are attached, and two, the conduit that serves the screen is going to be attached and or concealed?
Certainly, I might hand that over to William Bialowski, our architect, who's also in attendance.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. The boxes will be made out of metal and painted, preferably out of copper, though I'm not until we price it, don't know, maybe aluminum, and painted. And they would be anchored to the building through the masonry joints through the back of the box. So the box itself will be mounted through the joint, not through the brick. And the current plan for the conduit is to run the conduit. The conduit pokes, power supply comes onto the canopy overhead, and we'd like to run a small conduit in the corner of the column, painted out to match the brick and the joints as it runs down the wall into the box, which was the way a lot of the conduit is out there now is run on the wall. We have a landmark interior on the inside. So we really aren't in a position to be able to tear open that blast or run the power down and then poke out from the inside. It would bring us into a restoration project on the interior of the lobby that we don't have funds for or an intention to do at this time. So we'd like to run the conduit to each of these boxes, tucked neatly in the corner and painted out just from the canopy overhead.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brad. If I can make a request to the applicants, we have two Ted Lambert on the call.
I'm
Could you
William.
rename yourself, just for the record, so that we accurately reflect the names of the participants. Thank you.
I'll put it in a chat to you. How's that? So you get my name correctly.
Well,
I'm on the drawings. I don't know how this happened.
It would be great if you can rename yourself so that people who view the recording at a later time know that you are.
I just came in. I don't know how it gave me.
I believe because the invitation was shared with William Bialowski, that
I think that
Layla, you want to resend me one, please?
if you click on the three little dots next to your name, you should have the option to rename yourself.
Oh, thank you.
I think so.
Yeah, I see it there.
Let's give it a try. I mean, it's on the end of the world if it doesn't.
I got it. We're all good.
Fantastic. Thank you. Much appreciated. Okay, the next question goes to I think Karen, you had your hand up.
They asked and answered my question. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, the next question goes to Tony.
Thank you, Layla. William, you mentioned the material of the boxes being either copper or aluminum, possibly painted.
Definitely painted.
Definitely. So even if it's copper, it will still be painted.
Yeah, we would paint it to match all the marquee that's out there.
What color is that?
It's a black, but it's not a true black.
Okay. And then my other question had to do with the displays themselves. Will they always be static or will they have motion to them?
well, they have the ability to have motion, and in that, we don't usually get supplied any video content by our participants, so I don't think it will be that. But in that way that Ken Burns will take a photograph and push in on it, we do intend to put some of our history in those boxes as well, so people are aware of the institution that they're walking past. And so there might be some graphics added to a historic photograph, push in on it, show a detail. So in that way, there would be motion. It's not going to, if you see some of the Broadway shows, they have the kind of all singing, all dancing videos, but I don't expect that's going to be our content. We just don't receive it from our performers.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question goes to Mark.
Hi, thank you. I had a question about the content which you were just discussing. Would it solely be content related to the programming at Town Hall, and then also the any sort of historical significance of Town Hall?
We definitely want to include the historic. It will be upcoming shows. It might feature our education programs that we run both at the hall and in New York City classrooms in all 5 boroughs. So that's
okay, but it wouldn't be anything unrelated to Town Hall, like
no, there's no advertisements. No.
Okay.
We might, feature some of our programs like Black History Month, which has been supported by Con Ed for 27 years. Their logo might appear on promotion of that. Bank of America is another supporter.
Sure. All right. Thank you.
Wanted to also mention that Town Hall is a very good neighbor, and we both have a good relationship with the Stephen Sondheim across the street and all of the restaurants on our block. There are no hotels on our block, and there's no one across the street in a residence, so we won't really be disturbing anyone with these signs. But Town Hall provides a lot of business for the other businesses on the block, and our success and growth will only help them too.
Thank you. So if I can actually press a little more on these later questions, let's say, you know, for the sake of the argument, if a particular programming were to be sponsored by a famous soda, and that soda brand wanted to actually display advertising on these screens, would you be able to do it? And would you agree to some restrictions so that that would not happen?
Well, I don't have any plans for that, and no one has ever put that forth. We had a really strange show once where Skittles rented the entire theater and ran this. They wrote a Broadway musical called Skittles the Musical, and so for that day that they filmed, they put Skittles signs in all the poster boxes. It was a really elaborate commercial which never played in the Super Bowl. It was a very odd project, but we were cleaning Skittles out of the theater for months. But that's the only kind of example I can choose where it's, you know, we sometimes have film shoots and television shoots there, so they will dress the outside of the theater to suit the fiction that they are shooting, and that's the only normal instance where I can think of that.
Okay, thank you. All right, any further questions from member? Oh yeah, I see John has his hand up. John, go ahead.
Yes, how I've participated or attended several political oriented events at the location. So my question is, how will political advertisements, or you know, when you're publicizing a political event, how will that be handled, and will there be any guidelines or restrictions?
Well, we don't allow people to. It's possible for a campaign to rent Town Hall.
Yes, I've participated. I've been there several times with campaigns. Yes,
but we don't sponsor that. It is a rental, and again, it's the kind of thing where if someone comes in for a day, they are allowed to put their signage announcing the event there. Well, we wouldn't really promote any content or platform. We try not to. We can't present someone ourselves who's involved in a political campaign because we can't be seen to be taking sides in a campaign. But the hall is for rent, and people can have their own private event there. Again, that's it hasn't happened before where I can't recall an instance where there was any kind of political poster other than announcing that the person would be in attendance there. But I'm not sure if I answered your question.
no, that you've answered it. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to clarify, so if a political candidate or political campaign wants to rent the venue currently, are they permitted to put posters in these boxes?
It hasn't happened since I've been employed there. I was a member of the Board of Trustees before. In my memory, it hasn't happened unless it's just a poster that says there's a public forum happening with this person, and that's the extent of what it would be. Again, it hasn't happened while I'm here, so I'm trying to remember the last. But Bernie Sanders appeared at the town hall several years ago, but I wasn't aware of the signage. There's a restriction on it. I'm willing to accept it. It's rare.
Did they? I assume that they put some sort of a, you know, notice or, you know, sign in these boxes with maybe the photo of the candidate and his name and the date of the event.
Very often events happen without posters happening, but I see your point. And yes, if they wanted to promote their event, if it was to use a phrase, a town hall with someone, then yes, I would think that they would be allowed to just, I don't think it would be espousing too much of a philosophy other than where and when they were appearing.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from members of the committee? Brad, you have your hand up again.
Yes, thank you. Just a quick question. Can you confirm that notices were posted for this application?
Yes, I put them at the, I looked at the instructions for it, and it said intersections north, south, east, and west. So I took that to mean the two intersections at the end of the block. At all four corners, I placed notices. I did notice this morning that they had been torn down. I'm not sure all of them were torn down, but I believe the property managers of the buildings there took them down. And when I noticed that, I reprinted some and I put 5 up in our windows and on a lamppost outside town hall. So 5 were sitting there as of the time I sat down for this meeting. And I'm happy to put them up again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions from members of the committee? Okay, so seeing none, I will open up the floor to members of the public. Members of the public, if you wish to speak, you can use the raise hand function. Once I call on you, you will be permitted to speak. You will need to unmute yourself so that you are allowed to speak. And we will start with Charles.
Hello. Before I start, I'd like to add that I'm a blind person, so I'm not able to see the graphics. So I apologize if my comments might not be feasible or, might not apply. But I was thinking, is it possible that the majority of the boxes could reflect the history, maybe some of the older posters from back in the day, much more than newer events? Because I feel like those boxes, from what I heard, were historically there to kind of show the past, and it is a historical building. So I'm wondering if, the majority of, sorry, not the majority, but, that there's more boxes dedicated out of the 6 to the history than to newer events. And I'm wondering, if these screens will be able to be seen during the daytime, if there's any benefit to them being, showing any imagery or anything during the daytime, with electricity and, energy usage. And then my last point is, I'm wondering, I don't know if this is feasible, but what if there was a way to use a projector to project the images onto the columns instead of having screens, and maybe restoring the boxes back to how they used to be before they were aluminum boxes, back when they, had old show posters or something like that. I'm wondering if there's a way to really keep the mixture of old and new. I think that's really important. Thank you.
Well, the posters, when the older boxes never showed historic things before, because there was no history before, or they always showed current things. But to your point, what we want to do is include a lot of our historical content in the rotation that we're able to do with the bright sign controllers. We can program that as a regular every hour. Within every hour, there will be a certain amount of content that showcases our history. If you're looking at that elevation picture, everyone else, the large doors to the right and to the left are our stage doors and our alleyways. And we're about to erect or just apply a vinyl which says, through these doors have passed, some of the greatest talents, and list everyone from Sarah Vaughan to Dizzy Gillespie to Louis Armstrong, Nina Simone, Pete Seeger, Bob Dylan, everyone. So we're very much interested in promoting the history of Town Hall, and the boxes will help us do that.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions from members of the public? You can use the raise hand function to indicate that you wish to speak. The next speaker is Kevin Fritz. You're permitted to speak. You can unmute yourself.
Yes, hi, I appreciate the question. I just have a quick question. What is the rationale behind changing the size of the boxes from their original size to a larger size, but having few of them?
Perhaps you misunderstood, but actually what we are doing, we took the historic photograph and we looked at the boxes that used to exist before these rather cheap, yucky boxes appeared, and we counted how many bricks they covered. This is exactly the size. This is not garishness. This is a return to historic accuracy. In fact, the scale of the box matches exactly what was there decades ago. If you stop by and look at our facade, you'll see that the new boxes, which are rather small, look completely out of place on our facade.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Any more questions or comments from members of the public? You can use the raise hand function to indicate you wish to speak. Okay, so seeing no more hands going up, we will move back. I want to give the applicant had a chance to answer those questions. I just want to make sure that you have answered all of them. Do you wish to make a closing statement before we move to business session?
I will just say once again that I believe that these boxes give us an opportunity to do two things at once. And one is restore the town hall facade to what it once looked like. And the second is to update our technology so that we can promote our shows even better and do more of them while we showcase our history. I think it'll be very effective, and I think it will only enhance the street, the neighborhood, and the town hall itself. So thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. All right, let's move to business session. During business session, only members of the committee are allowed to discuss the matter. To frame the discussion a little bit for members of the committee, I think that we have two questions in front of us. The first one is actually the physical, the physicality of these boxes, including their size and their material. And then the second question that is in front of us is actually the use of a new technology, moving image, digital screen, with the potential to do actually much more than just presenting posters in a digital form, but could include moving image and possibly advertising. So let's start with the physicality of those boxes in terms of materials and scale. Do we have any comments, any thoughts on how they look? You can use the raise hand function to indicate you wish to make a comment. Peter. Peter, you're on mute.
Sorry, having been going to town hall like so many of us for so many years and appreciating its history, I think returning to the original size of the boxes is absolutely wonderful. The simplification is wonderful, and also recognize that there is the need to update things a little bit and to have the screens contained within the boxes, I see as a win-win.
Great, thank you, Peter. Next comment goes to Karen.
Hi, yeah, I confer with what Peter just said. And in aggregate, if you were to count up the square inches of all of the existing panels, there's probably actually even a reduction in the amount of content that's going to be visible with 6 of them. I think they're going from 13 boxes to 6. Yeah, 13 to 6. So it's a reduction, even though they're slightly larger. I had a chance to visit to the site. I I think it's very appropriate. There's even sort of a little old demo scar of where they were. I'm sure they would go right back to where they are. I think they're concealing the conduit discreetly, kind of in the shadow line of the column that presses forward. So even though that would be visible, I think it's being handled appropriately. And as far as the content, the theater is a non-for-profit. So I think that this will bring it, more current and hopefully appeal and attract more visibility. Being off the side, on a side street and not close to the corners and not nearly having the Broadway, the signage that theaters have on Broadway because they're not zoned for it. This is like very minimal compared to other Broadway theaters, and I think it's appropriate.
Thank you, Karen. Tony.
Thank you, Leila. I completely agree with Karen and Peter. And Karen, that's a great point that I wanted to make as well, as it looks like they're actually reducing the amount of signage, which we don't see very often at all. But more importantly, the style, the size, the color, the location of them, it's an actual restoration of what was original to the building. And I think that's probably the most important factor here. And all those points being very contextual to the landmark itself. So I think the overall design, the number of them, the placement of them is absolutely in line with maintaining the landmark.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, it looks like we see where we're going. Let me ask the question slightly differently. Is there any diverging view, any concerns that members of this committee wish to make on this particular application? Anything of note? Okay, I see no hands going up. So I will join my colleagues in saying that, I find this to be very restorative and contextual. I think it's a really good proposal. I want to thank Karen for taking the time to actually do a site visit. This is always so extremely important and useful. So I think we're ready to make a motion on this. Karen, it was your application. Do you want to make a motion?
Sure. I make a motion to approve this application for its size, material, and location being restorative in nature and appropriate, and the content being aligned with their mission and appropriate.
Second.
Fantastic. All right, we are ready to take this to a vote. Brad?
Sure. And sorry, just before I do this, you said you want to divide this up into two ideas of the physical and also the display. Did we want to talk about that, or do we feel satisfied with that as well?
I would, I'm very happy to continue to entertain the content. I was under the impression that actually everybody made comments on both. But very happy to revisit that if you feel that we should maybe refine our recommendation on the content. Although we have a motion and it's been seconded, I will allow let's consider that it is part of question to the motion. So if you wish to make any tweaks, now is the time.
Sure. Yeah, and my only tweak would be maybe some language in that to not restrict advertisement, but to limit it to sort of relevant to the events that are occurring.
I am fine with that. Members of the committee, we would consider that an amendment to the motion. Do you find that acceptable? Mark, I see that your hand went up.
Yeah, just in addition to that, in addition to content relevant to the programming, also just the building itself and the historical significance.
The what, sorry?
Content related to the historical significance of the building. So it's the building and the programming.
Yes.
Yep.
Good point, yes.
Yeah, that's good with me.
Okay, excellent. So everybody is fine. So basically we are making Chuck, you have your hand up, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not very comfortable with a content restriction. I think that given the 501c3 nature of this applicant, I think that we can trust them on the content. So my own preference would be that we not try to prescribe the content.
So the language of the resolution would read that the content would be related to the programming and the history of the building, which is what the applicant represented to us. So I don't know that it is necessarily restrictive in nature. It is just underscoring what the applicant has represented to us.
The original motion was content neutral, so are we amending the motion to contain the content restriction?
Brad, do you want to restate your alteration to the motion?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll use the language that you just used, Leila, which is per the applicant's comments, the content being shown in these boxes would relate to the history of the building or the programs that are going to be sort of put on at this venue. That would be the language that I would like to see.
So in the example, if a political committee rented the building and wanted to post in this square a notice that a political committee had rented the building, that would be consistent with the what's contemplated in the motion?
In my interpretation, yes.
In mine as well, actually.
And okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, so everybody is clear with the motion. So the motion, as stated by Karen, Brad made a friendly amendment to the, well, actually, we should ask Karen. Karen, do you consider the alteration to the motion as being friendly?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We have a second to the motion. Everybody is clear on the language. Peter, I see that your hand is still up, but I don't know if it's
Sorry.
okay, great. Mike, your hand just went up.
I'm not clear on it. So are we saying that if Bernie Sanders wants to rent the town hall, he's not allowed to put up a sign outside?
No, we say the opposite.
I don't understand.
We say the opposite of your statement. If a political candidate wants to rent the theater, they are allowed to put communication to their candidacy as well as a program on these boxes.
But they're not allowed to if he's not coming to promote a political candidate. That's what you're saying.
If it's not related to the programming.
It's not
So
related to the program.
Correct.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
Okay, good. All right, so we have a motion, we have an amendment, it's deemed friendly, we have a second. I think we're ready to take it to a vote.
Right.
Brad,
Yeah. Garcia,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Hirschberg,
yes.
Quebec. Yes. Logisico,
yes.
Levy,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Pedrazi.
Yes.
Myself, I'm a yes. Stamberg,
Yes.
Testa.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Thank you so much to the applicant. This will be presented to the full board of Community Board 5. Your presence is not mandated at the full board, but you have an opportunity to speak if you wish to. And we wish you good luck with the city planning, the Landmarks Preservation Commission hearing. Thank you for this presentation. All right, this is the last application for the evening. Are there any new business from members of the committee? Any new business? Okay, I don't see any hands going up. Oh, there is a hand going up. Mike.
I just wanted to mention that the full board meeting is on the 8th of June, not any other day, that Thursday, the 8th.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. Okay, any new business? Okay, so seeing none, we can adjourn the meeting. Thank you so much and have a good evening.
Hey, everyone.